Today, we're diving into My Hero Academia with a twist, imagining Deku facing real evils. Plus, we're adding a dash of Deku x Uraraka. This is part 1, and it's going to be epic. Hit subscribe, hit the bell, and let's jump into the action-packed world of what if Deku faces real evils. Ready? Let's roll. We are in a big place, many people are gathered, attentively listening to the words of the person at the microphone speaking seriously. Unknown person, well, I think words are unnecessary with them, right? On the other side of the venue, a group of well-dressed girls formed under the orders of a tall woman with black hair and beautiful features. Unknown woman, let's go, girls, time is pressing, and you know a racer doesn't like to wait. The girls quickly formed, although some were trembling slightly. The doors opened, and they all left in an orderly manner, followed by the woman who was discreetly shedding tears. The woman looked ahead at the man leading the ceremony, who looked back at her, giving a slight smile and nodding in gratitude. In another part of the venue, many boys formed in the same way, led by a tall, slim, and energetic man whose hair defied gravity. Unknown man, come on, guys, we don't have all day. The big day has come, and if you don't hurry, you'll ruin it, so quickly, quickly. A glasses-wearing boy quickly wrote a text message, looking worried. Unknown boy, come on, Midoriya wouldn't miss this for anything. Why isn't he answering? Arrogant blonde, that damn Deku has more important things right now. Leave it, glasses. The arrogant blonde rudely responded to the glasses-wearing boy, who put away his phone, adjusted his suit, and stood in front of all the other boys to leave in order amid the applause of the people gathered there. In another place away from the venue, a phone rang, alerting to a message. The owner of the device quickly took it out, and after reading it, sighed tiredly. Unknown person, I have to hurry, or I'll be late. But I guess we're getting ahead of ourselves. Let's start from the beginning because this story is not just a single page, so let's go forward. Plus Ultra. Insert Boku no Hero Academia Opening 1. UA Academy in the present. This is where every hero is born, the number one hero came from here. Legends are born here, and in the last semester of Class 1A, the kids are very excited. Unknown person, well, now I want everyone to take a seat. A tall and slim man entered through the tall doors. His suit was entirely black except for some kind of bandages covering his neck. His hair was long, and his appearance seemed tired. All the students obeyed and sat down immediately. Unknown person, okay, thanks for that. Now, I know you're excited because it's your last semester, but that doesn't mean hero classes will be lighter. On the contrary, today our class will be about field trips. Unknown student, what do you mean, Professor Aizawa? A tall, glasses-wearing boy asked excitedly, standing like a soldier. The professor sighed tiredly. Aizawa, I'll explain now, just be quiet and sit down. Today's class is about going out to the streets, so put on your costumes, and I'll see you at the entrance. Everyone nodded and went to the dressing rooms. Soon, the sunlight illuminated each of the students. Aizawa, all right, the purpose of this class is to welcome you to the Little Heroism Induction course. Unknown person, something like the hero license exam? Aizawa, yes, Midoriya, but here we'll do it in real life. We'll divide into groups and go out. Unknown person, but, teacher, we haven't graduated yet. Why have a field test now and not wait for our debut as professional heroes with our respective agencies? Midoriya, maybe as a test to show that UA is still functioning normally, and heroes are still doing the job of keeping people safe. Ida. Ida, oh, I see. Well thought, Midoriya. Aizawa, all right, quiet down. We'll do this all week so people get used to your appearances. Even if you want to change aspects of your costume or name, it's enough for people to know that. Unknown person, they're here. A muscular figure entered the scene swiftly but soon transformed into a thin and very worn-out version, surprising the students. Aizawa, what brings you here, All Might? All Might, I was bored in the room with the principal and remembered that today is your first field test, so I wanted to see it. After all, I'm also your teacher. Aizawa, TCH, okay, but be careful. I'll put you in charge of one of the teams, alright? All Might, alright, Aizawa. Unknown person, what does that mean, teacher? A short-haired brunette girl spoke behind Midoriya, making him jump. Aizawa, I mean, uraraka, that a teacher will accompany each of your groups to guide you at all times, kids. Unknown person, and how will the teams be formed, teacher? Ribbit author's note, I wasn't sure whether to use Kara or Ribbit. I welcome suggestions in the comments. Aizawa, okay, first of all, I'll tell you that in here, we have the master-student relationship, but outside, we'll be heroes. So, I'll call you by your hero names. Everyone nodded. For the first time, they would be called by their hero names. Aizawa, well, now I'll tell you how the teams are formed. This team will be permanent until the end of the practice, so fighting alone, sacrificing your teammates, and acts of individualism that could affect your team are prohibited, understood? Everyone nodded again, so Aizawa took out a list and began to announce names. Aizawa, let's see, the teams will be like this. 1. Bakugo and Kirishima. 2. Tsuyu and Tokoyami. 3. Kaminari and Jiro. 4. Ojiro and Hagakure. 5. Todoroki and Yaoyorozu. 6. Sero and Mineta. 7. Ida and Shoji. 8. Kota and Sato. 9. Aoyama and Mina. 10. Midoriya and Uraraka. Alright, now I'll tell you which teacher will be with you. 1. I'll go to keep you calm, Team 1. 2. Ectoplasm, Team 2. 3. Present Mike, Team 3. 4. Number 13, Team 4. 5. Snipe, Team 5. 6. Midnight, Team 6. 7. Powerloader, Team 7. 8. Cementos, Team 8. 9. Gang Orca, Team 9. 10. All Might, here it will be a bit different. I kindly ask that neither of you causes any problems, understood Midoriya? Midoriya, yes, teacher. Aizawa, alright, get on the trucks. You'll be dropped off at random locations and start patrolling. You have hero licenses, so you can fight without causing much harm. If you encounter a big villain, ask for help from the professionals and obey the teachers. Everyone, yes. Excited. Unknown person, is Class A going to be accompanied? Weren't they better than us? It seems like they have to be babysat. A short-haired blonde guy with a ridiculously flashy costume started mocking them, but a girl behind him knocked him out with a blow to the back of his head. Unknown person, don't mock them. If they're accompanied, it's the director's orders to avoid problems. I'm sorry, Class A. Ida approached the girl, and they talked for a while about the patrol movement since both were presidents of their respective classes. After a while, the teachers also arrived and joined their teams. Aizawa, well, it's getting late. Everyone, get on the bus. Ida, with military precision, began to organize the boarding. The bus was designed to accommodate teams in order. At the back were Deku, Uraraka, and All Might, who moved forward to talk with Aizawa, leaving the two young ones alone. Both breathed heavily, they were no longer as nervous around each other as the first times, but starting a conversation still posed a challenge. Uraraka, Deku, do you want a sweet for the journey? Midoriya, th. Thank you, Uraraka. This bus looks very different from the previous ones. Uraraka, yes, you're right. I wonder who designed it, it looks new. On the side of their seats, at the end, they could read a plate that said, Transport designed by the support department. Signature, Mei Hatsum, inventor and designer of the bus. Deku, oh, I see. I should have guessed it was her. She always has great inventions. I still appreciate the improvements to my costume. Uraraka, yeah. The girl wasn't a big fan of the inventor. Deku's comment caught her attention, he smiled at her, making her blush and hug her knees. After a while, she looked up, and Midoriya was happily eating the candy she offered. Deku, wow, Uraraka, this tastes delicious. Where did you get it? It's so good. Uraraka, thanks, Deku, but I didn't buy them. I made them. Deku, blushing, th. Thank you, it tastes really good. With those words, the ice was broken, and the conversation became pleasant. At the beginning of the bus ride, All Might turned to look at both kids and then smiled. Aizawa, what has you so happy? All Might, nothing, Aizawa, just a simple hunch. Aizawa, well, you better not spill anything, understood? All Might, you're the boss. Thumbs up. Present Mike, hey, are we almost there? Aizawa, you're impatient, Mike, but yes, here's where you and your team get off. Aizawa stood at a corner, and opening the doors, Kaminari and Jiro got off, followed by Present Mike, who descended with open arms to the unbelieving gaze of the people. Present Mike, we're here, guys. Time to say yeah. Neither of the two made any move, they were too nervous. Aizawa, your goal is just to patrol, don't go looking for trouble, understood? It's good for people to see you. Remember, kids, you're heroes now. Aizawa closed the doors and continued driving. Everyone saw that their teacher wasn't lying, he wasn't following a specific order. Team 3 was the first to exit, and with them, the trial had begun. The buses finally returned to the academy. The day's activities ended without anything significant. The students got off the bus and entered their classroom building with the professional hero Eraserhead leading the way. As they arrived in their classroom, everyone sat down, feeling exhausted. The activities weren't physically tiring, but nerves were their enemies. Eraserhead took off his goggles, revealing a tired look on his face. Aizawa, all right, chicks, the day is finally over. But that doesn't mean your heroic activities are done. Today's events were quickly announced in the newspapers. If you don't believe me, see for yourselves. At that moment, the teachers who accompanied them during their practical training entered the room. All Might entered last, pressing a button to close the doors and windows, plunging the room into darkness. Soon, a projector displayed images from the city newspapers. All the front pages mentioned the patrols of both Class 1A and 1B students. One particular article caught Deku's attention. Below the already eye-catching headline was a perfectly clear photo of Deku with Uraraka, and All Might behind them. Deku blushed, but when he looked at Uraraka, she was smiling in admiration. He also saw his idol All Might, who smiled and discreetly gave a thumbs up. The students' faces lit up, and Aizawa gave the order to open the windows and doors. After a final attendance check, everyone was allowed to leave. None of them took off their costumes. For the first time, they felt like professional heroes. On the way, they met Class 1B and exchanged a few words before going their separate ways. The class formed groups and went up to their dormitories. Although Uraraka's dorm was farther away, she accompanied Deku. Both were tired, but their conversation was not dull. Finally, they reached Deku's dorm. He opened the door with embarrassment, as his room clearly reflected his All Might fandom. However, Uraraka didn't mind, she found it cute. The two said their goodbyes, and Uraraka left. Deku could only admire her. At that moment, Ida arrived, pulling Deku out of his thoughts. Ida, well, Midoriya, it's time to go to bed. Deku, isn't it late for you to be around? Ida, my duty as the class president is to ensure everyone is well and follows the rules. Deku, always so formal. Ida. Well then, President, I'll go to bed now. See you tomorrow. Ida, rest well, Midoriya. The green-haired boy closed the door, leaving Ida alone in the long hallway. The stern president positioned himself in the middle of the corridor and took a running stance. With his quirk, it wouldn't be difficult for him to traverse all the floors to reach his room. However, he regained his composure and walked calmly. The next day, the students went to their hero classes, but their excitement focused on the last one with Aizawa. When the class arrived, they quickly put on their costumes and headed to the entrance where the buses were waiting. Again, they met Class 1B. Deku and Uraraka were at the back again, and their conversation from the day before became more enjoyable and relaxed. All Might observed everything from the front, accompanying Aizawa. Aizawa, that expression again. It's weird to see you like this without your muscular form. All Might, sorry, Aizawa. I'm just in a good mood today. Aizawa, well, I hope this doesn't ruin it for you, but you and your team are getting off here. All Might, you're not doing this on purpose, are you? Aizawa, the element of surprise is always important, and you know that. All Might stopped smiling as Aizawa stopped the bus and stood in the middle. All the students looked at him nervously. Aizawa, well, Midoriya, Uraraka, today starts for you. Get off and show what you're made of. Deku and Uraraka, why yes. Uraraka got off first, adjusting her helmet, while Deku adjusted his mask. All Might was the last to disembark. People looked at them in amazement, and even a child asked Deku for his autograph, which surprised him. On the other side, everyone had already gotten off the buses, attracting attention. All the UA students, aspiring heroes, were walking the streets, filling people with hope, and that was important. There wasn't much villain activity, which had become common since Shigaraki's fall 6 months ago in a raid led by all the pro heroes. However, vigilance was still high. Each team of students was nervous, but the public accepted them. Back with Deku, Uraraka, and All Might, the students were bored with no activity. Ida's team handled attempted assaults, and Kaminari's team assisted in the apprehension of some minor criminals who were active. Suddenly, All Might stopped. All Might, it's too hot, don't you think? I feel like having ice cream. Do you want one? I haven't been here in a while and want to see if they still make them the way I remember. Uraraka, of course, I'd love one. How much do they cost? She took out a small wallet, and Deku pulled out his wallet, but the symbol of peace stopped them with a smile. All Might, don't worry, kids, I'll treat you. Both blushed. All Might walked a few blocks with the kids and then entered the ice cream shop. Deku and Uraraka stayed outside talking. Uraraka, it's strange to see All Might like this, don't you think, Deku? Deku, yeah, lying, I guess you never really get used to it. Uraraka, but he'll never stop being the symbol of peace for me. They laughed a bit. Uraraka started making combat movements in the air, making Deku laugh briefly. However, from the corner of his eye, he saw a blue flare heading towards them. Activating One for All, Deku carried Uraraka and lifted them to the roof of the establishment, but it wasn't very fast, as part of his arm was damaged. Both looked down, and there stood the cause of the attack, none other than Dabi, who stared at them. Behind him was a Nomu, but they weren't alone. Next to Dabi appeared Himiko Toga, who was smiling, showing her sharp fangs as she brandished a knife. People started running. None of the three villains made an effort to stop them, although Toga didn't miss the chance to throw her knife at people, regardless of who they were. Meanwhile, inside the ice cream shop, All Might had just come out with the ice creams when a burst of flames sealed the doors, making it impossible to enter or exit. Dabi, we don't want any trouble, symbol of peace. Uraraka, Deku, are you? Deku, yes, the suit was modified to be fireproof, all possible modifications for something so basic, I suppose. But that's not important now. Himiko, Deku, my baby, it's Toga. Do you remember me? The crazy girl wielded her knife towards Deku, who looked nervously. Dabi, you're too noisy, shut up. The blonde made a small disgusted face but remained silent while smiling threateningly at Deku, showing her fangs. Deku, Dabi, I remember you. What are you doing here? Dabi, it's not obvious, kid. We're here for you. A little birdie told us you'd be in the city today. We just came to add some excitement to your lives. Deku was nervous. Dabi wasn't like the villains he had faced before. He was calculated and skilled in combat, even able to inflict some damage on Aizawa. But when he was about to harm Uraraka, Deku couldn't allow it. On impulse, he jumped and struck Dabi in the stomach. Although he was using 80% of One for All, it was still challenging to control, and against human villains, he used less to avoid causing severe harm. Dabi slammed into the wall but immediately got up and, with a smile, shot fire at Deku, who crossed his arms in an X to shield himself from the flames. The suit served its purpose, but it wouldn't hold forever. When Dabi lightened the fire, Deku rose into the air. Pushing downward, he delivered a powerful blow that almost finished off the villain, saved only by his reflexes. On the other side, Uraraka and Toga were fiercely fighting. The blonde attacked Uraraka with her knife, and Uraraka managed to dodge thanks to her training. However, Toga was also agile, dodging Uraraka's attacks. Deku lunged at Dabi, but he shot flames, forcing the green-haired hero to cover himself. Feeling his suit starting to burn, in a desperate move, Deku threw a punch with enough force to create an opening in the midst of the flames. Deku took advantage of this space, launching himself at the villain. Dabi attacked again, but Deku was faster, evading the strike, dropping to the ground, and passing between Dabi's legs. He propelled himself from the pavement and kicked the villain in the back. Seizing the opportunity, Deku didn't let Dabi recover, hitting him again, this time on the arm with enough force to temporarily disable it. The villain became desperate and unleashed a powerful burst of flames. Deku ran and moved the girl out of the attack's reach, placing her on the roof of a house before returning to the battlefield. There, he saw that Toga had remained stuck to the pavement, receiving much of the attack. The culprit of this was Uraraka, whose gravity manipulation had become stronger, allowing her to decrease or increase the weight of whoever she touched. Toga lay on the ground, unconscious. Deku returned to the fight, determined to finish it with a single blow, just like Dabi, who formed a sinister smile, raising his hand towards Deku. Dabi, this was fun. Meanwhile, in the ice cream shop, All Might watched the fight, feeling useless for not being able to help. Suddenly, he stood in front of the door, throwing punches while thinking of a plan. All Might, I have only one chance. It has to be at the right moment, or I won't be able to help them. Saying this, he assumed a combat stance, pulling his arm back. As he threw the punch, he transformed into his muscular form, smashing the door with all his might, destroying it. At that moment, his transformation also ended, but his plan had worked perfectly. Seconds before All Might's punch, Deku launched himself at Dabi at high speed. At that instant, Dabi also released a massive burst of flames that hit Deku directly. However, Deku anticipated this, throwing a punch whose air pressure cleared a path and hurt Dabi. Immediately, Deku set the other fist in motion, and Dabi, ready to attack again, didn't expect the explosion caused by All Might's punch. Distracted, Dabi lowered his guard to see what caused it, and Deku took advantage. Landing in front of his opponent, he punched him in the stomach with a bit more force, sending him flying with great strength. Deku, and stay down. All Might, young Midoriya, are you okay? Deku, better than I look. Thanks, All Might. At that moment, Dabi got up, ready to attack again. Still, he was hit by Toga, who was thrown at high speed thanks to Uraraka's quirk, surprising both Deku and the number one hero. Uraraka, oops, sorry. Am I interrupting something? Although the villain stood up again, making Deku wary, Dabi unleashed a massive burst of flames that covered both villains and the Nomu, who had remained static throughout the fight and then disappeared. Deku, darn it. I should have reached him or knocked him out directly. Sorry. All Might, it's not your fault, young Midoriya. You're also exhausted, both of you are. You didn't know this would happen. Rest for a moment, the press will be here soon. The kids listened and went to sit on the curb, although Deku lay on the pavement with his arms open. Uraraka, so? Enough excitement for today? Deku, enough for the month, thanks, ha ha ha. Both kids laughed, though Deku was in a bit of pain. People approached, thanking them, making them blush and feel nervous. All Might arrived, handing them ice creams, which they enjoyed until the press and police arrived. The kids, with All Might's help, escaped the crowd to return to school. Back in the classroom, they waited anxiously. Aizawa entered with senior heroes, looking more serious than usual. All Might, with a remote, activated screen showing newspapers and internet news featuring the students. The main headline read: The Hero Era returns. UA school students defeat two villains, proving villains still fear heroes. Screens went dark, and after a brief silence, everyone erupted in joy, congratulating Deku and Uraraka. Bakugo, annoyed and disbelieving, stayed in his seat. Todoroki smiled at Midoriya, and when Deku noticed, Todoroki gave a thumbs up. Aizawa quieted them, then dismissed the class. Class A celebrated, passing by Class B, who ignored the festivities. Monoma taunted Deku, and Kirishima confronted him until Bakugo stopped the confrontation. Bakugo, forget that idiot. Don't fall for provocation. Class B confronted Class A, upset by Bakugo's comment. Itsuka, Class B president, spoke up, and Ida apologized but suggested Monoma apologize to Kirishima and Midoriya. Monoma refused, accusing Class A of disorder. Bakugo and Monoma exchanged heated words, and Itsuka criticized Bakugo's behavior. Ida defended Bakugo, and tensions rose between the two classes. Aizawa, okay, that's enough. Ida, your job is to keep peace in your class, and it seems like you share their annoyance, as well as you, Kendo. It's true that you shouldn't feel superior to other classes, Katsuki, but it's also not right to mock or, Nato, especially not to attack other students. Both students looked at the hero. Aizawa was not easy to predict, and they didn't know what his next move would be. But at that moment, Blood King appeared. Blood King, your behaviors are not heroic, and you're on the verge of being expelled. Remember, you are the hope of the next generations. Aizawa, this time, I'll be lenient and let it slide, but next time. Aizawa activated his quirk. His bandages rose, and his eyes turned red, making him look more intimidating. Both classes separated and walked away. Monoma was about to say something, but Itsuka gave him the classic nudge on the back of the head. The tense atmosphere from earlier had passed. Joy had returned to the hearts of Class A students. Everyone approached the brown-haired and green-haired students, bombarding them with questions. Hagakure had seen on her phone that the villains were Dabi and Toga, so they bombarded Uraraka with questions, making her even more nervous. On the other side, the same happened with Midoriya. Kirishima hugged his friend's shoulder, admiring how manly he looked after giving a severe beating. Kaminari spoke energetically. Mineta only asked if he saw Toga's underwear, Todoroki asked about his rival's fire, Sero asked how he caught him, and Sato asked how much strength he used to take him down. However, all of this was overshadowed when his childhood friend walked past the green-haired boy. There was no aggressive behavior, but it was Bakugo's comment that made Deku ponder. Bakugo, strive, damn nerd. You won't always fight with help. Deku, cock, chan. The relationship between Bakugo and Deku hadn't changed much during their time as students. Bakugo still treated Deku with his usual humor, which Deku had grown accustomed to. Although it was easier for them to fight side by side without arguing, giving them an advantage in training. Deku was focused on this when a hand with pads on it caught his attention. Somehow, Uraraka had escaped from her friends and was calling her friend to follow her. Deku didn't hesitate and, hiding behind his friends until confusing them, he went out behind the crowd and managed to meet up with his friend, who smiled at him. Deku felt really good. For a year and a half, the green-haired boy had realized that the time spent with his brown-haired friend was always the best, no matter what. Whether it was pouring rain or if Bakugo had shouted any nonsense, being with Uraraka made the green-haired boy forget the bad things, and this was no exception. Both were tired but headed to the brown-haired girl's room, where she brought out some pastries and tea. The two friends sat down to eat and talk, and laughter ensued. However, the moment was interrupted when Tsuyu entered her best friend's room. Tsuyu, Ochako, Midoriya, the guys are having a small celebration for your achievement today. Come to the recreation room, please, Karo. Deku, thanks a lot, Tsuyu. We won't be long. Both young people were red, but as soon as the frog girl left, they burst into laughter. The scene in their minds was very comical. Uraraka, Deku, you should have seen your face, ha ha ha. You were super red. Deku, that's because you didn't see yours. You look like a locomotive with all the smoke coming out of your ears, ha ha ha. Uraraka, well, let's leave it here. Shall we join the others before they start worrying? Deku, of course, just let me tidy this up. The green-haired boy lifted his plate and cup, and Uraraka also picked up hers. Within a few minutes, the two left and joined the celebration with the rest of their friends. The day ended for the young heroes. At 3:30 a.m., everyone in the recreation room was knocked out, except for 3 young people who were cleaning up the mess caused by a certain redhead. In an attempt to celebrate, Katsuki and Kirishima were sent to get some beers. Needless to say, it was a big mistake. They were still young, and school assignments didn't give them much breathing room, so their alcohol tolerance wasn't the best. Tsuyu, Uraraka, and Deku watched as their friends left, holding back their laughter. Bakugo, who claimed to be the toughest guy in UA, was defeated by just 2.5 beers. Now, he was sprawled on the couch, snoring loudly, his menacing face transformed into a comical one with drawn-on glasses, beard, mustache, and a black marker on the tip of his nose. Kirishima, the artist behind these funny marks, was also sound asleep on top of Bakugo, legs hanging over the back of the couch, and head against the floor, giving the illusion of flying. Todoroki, the only one unaffected by alcohol, sat there, having chosen not to drink but dozed off from exhaustion. His friends had insisted he stay, and this was the result. Mina and Hagakure, seated on the floor with microphones in hand, seemed to be hit by the alcohol while singing karaoke. Mina, leaning entirely on the invisible girl, had a thread of drool hanging from her mouth. As for Hagakure, well, they couldn't describe her appearance, but there was a faint murmur that they chose not to listen to out of respect. Shoji and Sato were also asleep, both sitting. They had dozed off while arm wrestling. Sato, in an attempt to increase his strength, had consumed sugar with alcohol, which turned out to be a terrible idea. Shoji, too, fell asleep while arm wrestling, combining it with drinking. Ida, however, fared the worst. His strict behavior and low alcohol tolerance worked against him when Mina persuaded him to have at least one drink. Enjoying the beverage, he chugged it down and, like gasoline, went for another. The intoxicated Ida challenged Sero and Ojiro to a race outside, in which Aoyama also joined. The race ended with Sato and Ojiro tangled in Sero's tape and the elegant Aoyama collapsed on the ground, knocked out from the impact. Ida, with his entangled friends and the dirtied Aoyama, climbed back in and, exhausted, tossed the trio of drunkards before falling asleep in his emergency pointing pose. Yaoyorozu, inebriated but still conscious, sat in silence, nodding off. In her hands, she held her usual rod, which she had used to knock out a bold Mineta who had lost consciousness. Jiro and Kaminari were the only ones being cute in the room. After having a bit too much to drink, they started chatting as if they had known each other forever and fell into a deep slumber. Jiro leaned on Kaminari, who, amusingly, generated small electric shocks as he snored, causing the purple-haired girl to snuggle closer. Kota had a tough time. The quiet boy had partially overcome his fear of insects, but when drunk, it was a different story. Feeling a bit dizzy and encountering a large cockroach, Kota ran, but a slight mishap made him collide with a wall, losing consciousness. Even the serious Tokoyami was defeated when he participated in the drinking tournament that Ida had left pending. It was Tokoyami against Dark Shadow, and not much time passed before both fell, calling for a truce and instantly falling asleep. The brunette couldn't stop laughing but had to clean up the mess with Deku and Tsuyu, who were the only ones who hadn't drunk. They pretended to drink just to avoid threats from the intoxicated Bakugo. The frog girl was already yawning. While it was true that she took care of her brothers, this was different. Her eyes were heavy, and her steps were slow. Distracted by sleep, she didn't notice the ken that made her trip, but before hitting the ground, Deku caught her. The boy had been quick, and now he had her securely held. "Deku, are you okay, Tsuyu?" "Asui?" Tsuyu, still struggling to say it after all this time? "Uraraka, Tsuyu, are you okay?" Tsuyu, "Yeah, yawn, just a little tired." "Deku, go to sleep, we'll take care of this." Tsuyu, "Don't worry about me, I can still help." The girl tried to get up, but her legs didn't respond due to fatigue. "Uraraka, come on, I'll take you to your room." Tsuyu, "Can I stay with you guys?" "I'll be fine, I just need to sit for a moment." Uraraka and Deku exchanged a glance. They could force her to leave, but that's not how they are. They looked at each other and then nodded simultaneously. Deku, "All right, Tsuyu, come. We'll seat you on that available couch, okay?" Tsuyu, "Thank you. If I fall asleep, wake me up when you leave, okay?" Karo. Uraraka, "No, you need to sleep. We all do. We'll figure out how to take you later." The frog girl smiled. Midoriya gently stroked her head, and the green and brown-haired girls smiled at their friend before returning to what they were doing. Time passed, and everything was perfectly arranged. Deku was sweeping the last bits, turned to see Tsuyu, and found her peacefully asleep. He quickly called Uraraka. Both were sleepy but had to take everyone to their dorm, starting with their green-haired friend. "Deku, you take her, Uraraka. I'll finish cleaning up before you get back, and we'll figure out how to take everyone." "Uraraka, I think it would be faster if you take her, Deku." "You're faster." Deku, okay, but I'll come to help you." Uraraka, "It's okay, we're almost done." The boy took the little frog in his arms, and with Uraraka's help, he placed her on his back. With the brunette's assistance, he ensured she wouldn't slip and left the recreation room. After a few minutes, the sound of a window opening could be heard. The sky was completely dark, but it was illuminated by a figure enveloped in green rays. Deku leapt between his classmates' balconies, feeling the wind on his face, enjoying the freedom of jumping between buildings. In Class B's dormitories, Itsuka Kendo was the tough president of her group, not an easy role in a society of superheroes. The constant trouble caused by her classmate Monoma, teasing Class A, was an everyday occurrence. However, the events that unfolded this evening between the two classes had pushed her to the brink, leading to a heated argument with the blonde instead of the usual flick to the back of his head. The orange-haired girl stood on her room's balcony, contemplating how to resolve the issues. Both classes weren't very friendly towards each other, except for the camaraderie between Tetsu and Kirishima. Still, Monoma's constant offensive remarks and aggression made peaceful relations between the two classes challenging. Kendo, but Class A is partly to blame too. If it weren't for Bakugo's attitude. She let out a long sigh. Her duty wasn't to find blame but solutions, and she felt helpless not finding any. She liked the night, away from the cold it could bring or even the dangers. She liked it for the tranquility it transmitted, but she knew it was wrong to stay up late, especially for her, who had to wake up earlier than the rest. Therefore, she decided to sleep. Tomorrow she would think of something. The girl headed to open the window that served as the entrance to her room when she heard it, almost imperceptibly. The distant sound of something cutting through the wind reached her ears. The girl looked around but couldn't spot anything. Almost convinced that her sleep was playing a trick on her, Kendo headed toward her room. Again, that sound, now closer. Itsuka focused her attention on a dark spot, certain that she had heard the sound in that direction. She saw them, faint green rays moving, dimming, and reigniting, getting closer. The girl got alarmed, clenched her fist, and slightly enlarged it. Judging by the object's trajectory, she was sure it would pass by her balcony. The girl hid in her room, and it didn't take long before she saw whatever it was about to land on her balcony. She stepped out and threw a punch with all her strength. Meanwhile, with Deku. The boy was jumping between buildings when he saw something moving rapidly among the bushes. Prepared for whatever might come, he crouched, ready to attack. However, upon touching the ground, he realized it was just a simple squirrel. Laughing at himself, he jumped between balconies again. He was close, but due to his slight distraction, he now had to pass through Class B's buildings. The boy remembered what happened today, feeling somewhat uncomfortable, but he recalled the time and, believing everyone was asleep, ventured. He was almost done when he saw a giant fist approaching him rapidly. Without hesitation, the boy activated one for all at 20% to avoid causing significant damage with the pressure and waking someone up, releasing the punch. Current time. Itsuka was on the ground. When she threw the punch, she felt it responded with more force, hurting her hand. It reverted to its natural form, and the pressure sent her to the floor. She wanted to get up, ready to continue the fight with her other hand, but she realized that there was the freckled green-haired boy from Class A, extending his hand with a concerned expression. Itsuka was having a conflict of emotions. On one hand, she felt annoyed with the boy, on the other, she was intrigued to know what he was doing at this hour. She noticed Deku was still extending his hand, so she took it to get up. Deku, excuse me, President. The boy made a slight bow, which embarrassed the girl with surprise. But she realized that the freckled one was not alone, at least not consciously. Itsuka saw Tsuyu Asui on Deku's back. Itsuka, it's okay, Midoriya. Well, it certainly is something. What the heck are you doing wandering around the entire campus at this hour? Deku, sigh, we had a little party today, President. The girl understood what her classmate meant. Itsuka, I see. But that's no reason to be strolling around at night, and especially not with one of your classmates on your back. Midoriya, are you drunk? Deku, what? Ha, no, President, I didn't drink, not even Asui. She's just asleep. For some reason, the girl believed what the green-haired boy said, but she couldn't overlook the fact that he was outside her dorm room, and also, he attacked her, though that could be debatable. The orange-haired girl sighed tiredly. Itsuka, Midoriya, you know I can't let this slide, I'll have to report you tomorrow. The girl could imagine the repercussions, including the annoying Monoma mocking Class A, causing the relationship between classes to worsen. But she resigned, she had to do what was right. The girl returned from her thoughts and was surprised that Deku accepted without arguing. Itsuka, Midoriya, you know this could be serious, especially considering Eraserhead, right? Deku, yes, I know, but it's my fault. I could have been just as fast if I took the hallways. Plus, I woke you up and hurt your hand. It's okay, President, I accept the consequences, but I'd only ask that the report is about me. Asui didn't do anything. Itsuka was frozen. Any other student would have begged for mercy or come up with any excuse, even sacrificing their teammate, even if they were asleep, arguing anything. However, the boy accepted without complaint. She had heard from Yaoyorozu and Ida that the freckled one was incredibly altruistic, but she didn't believe it until now. Besides, he felt guilty for hitting her, even thought he woke her up, though that was a lie. The girl was surprised, but the pain in her palm brought her back to reality. She began to rub her hand. Tomorrow, she would see Recovery Girl, lying about an accident during training. Deku, I'm sorry, President, I caused that. Let me help you. Itsuka, it's okay, Midoriya. Regarding your report. The girl was about to speak when she saw Tsuyu pressing more against Deku's body. She leaned more on her friend, squeezing her arms around his neck, and Deku began to feel the lack of air, causing laughter from Itsuka. The poor boy looked funny. Itsuka, thinking, the report can wait. Okay, Midoriya, we'll continue tomorrow. Now, go drop off your companion before she suffocates you. Deku, thank you, President. Rest well. Saying this, the boy activated his quirk and quickly ascended. Itsuka could hardly see him. She spent a few minutes on her balcony, then went back inside her room and checked her clock, which read 4:10. The girl was surprised and crawled into her bed. At least, she managed to distract herself a bit. Midoriya leapt between buildings swiftly and reached his teammate's dorm, but there was a problem, the entrance. Midoriya couldn't go through the door, and the window was closed. Deku was thinking, but the girl tightened her grip. He concentrated all the strength he could muster into his thumb, which he placed on the sliding window lock. With a bit of pressure, he managed to break it, opening the window smoothly. Carefully, the boy placed his friend on her bed and covered her. Despite being in the pitch-dark room, Deku couldn't shake the feeling that he was doing something forbidden. He couldn't see her room, but the faint moonlight allowed him to see a photo of Tsuyu with her friend Abuko, a terrifying-looking snake girl. It didn't matter, Tsuyu always said she was a great girl, and Deku believed her. Next to the photo with Abuko, the green-haired boy saw a handmade frame with Tsuyu and Uraraka, and Deku could only smile. Both girls had become best friends at UA. A sound from Tsuyu's bed startled Deku, who left the frog's room through the same window. If it hadn't been for that noise, Deku would have seen another photo he might have forgotten, a handmade frame revealing a picture of a smiling Tsuyu hugging Deku, who also smiled warmly despite the snowy landscape around them. The boy jumped between buildings, but before entering through the window, he plucked a bouquet of flowers from the courtyard. The boy propelled himself and entered perfectly. Everything seemed fine, except that in the hallway stood his brunette friend with crossed arms. The boy was surprised and instinctively raised the flowers toward his friend, but with the momentum, he had hurt them, causing Uraraka to burst into laughter. Deku, I swear they were perfect when I picked them up. Uraraka, I can't stay mad at you, you know? But I was worried about you, so I came to find you. Deku, sorry, Uraraka. Uraraka, well, you owe me, but let's go. We still have to take everyone. I finished arranging. Any suggestions on how to take 17 students to their rooms? Deku, let's think of something on the way. Both were thinking of thousands of solutions, but passing by the dining room, the green-haired boy saw a cart where they usually carried kitchen ingredients. With Uraraka's help, they brought the cart to where their friends were, and with the brunette's quirk, they managed to get everyone, some on top and others below, but they fit. The boys looked like deliverymen, but instead of delivering food, they were distributing their friends to their rooms. They opened the doors and left their friends in their beds, except for Mineta, whom Deku simply tossed because he didn't want to enter his room. Finished with the guys, the girls came next, and they arranged them more delicately. Now, Uraraka was gently laying her friends down. 4:50, they had finally finished. They went to return the cart to its place. Deku accompanied Uraraka to her room. The brunette had told him not to bother, but the green-haired boy insisted. No matter how far away it was, he wanted to make sure she was okay, and now there they were, exhausted but happy to be together. Uraraka, well, Deku, thank you so much. Deku, no problem, Uraraka. It's fun spending time together, hee hee. Uraraka, you're right. Well, see you later, hee hee. Deku was about to say goodbye when he saw Uraraka falling to the floor. The boy's reflexes saved her from a good hit. The brunette was very asleep, more tired than she seemed. Deku entered her room feeling his way and, as best as he could, placed Uraraka on her bed. The boy was about to leave when he felt a strong grip on his hand. Uraraka didn't want to let him go, and in a way, Deku didn't want to leave either. The boy knelt in front of Uraraka's bed and fell into a deep sleep. Shortly after, Uraraka woke up halfway, seeing only her friend sleeping curled up in her hand. The girl felt too much tenderness. She got up, trying not to wake her friend, closed her door, and went back to bed, this time lifting Deku onto her bed with her quirk. She took his hands and fell asleep again. 7 a.m. The sun had already risen, and the first thing they heard was energetic footsteps from the Class A dorms. The students had woken up, a bit sleepy but in a hurry, thinking they had gone to bed leaving their dorm messy. Their surprise was big when they found everything completely clean. They tried to go back to sleep but rushed to prepare breakfast upon realizing the time. However, Deku and Uraraka were missing, so Ida, as the class president, went to Uraraka's room to wake her up. Ida, Uraraka, it's daylight. If you don't hurry, you'll be late. No one answered, so Ida knocked on the door harder. Ida, come on, it's time to get up. Deku, sleepily we're coming, Ida. You don't have to break the door down. The green-haired guy sat on the bed but then remembered what happened last night and woke up abruptly. Ida, hearing Midoriya's voice from Uraraka's room, entered. The noise also woke up Uraraka, who let out a small scream, heard by their classmates, prompting them to check on her. Ida, what's happening here? Deku, Ida, it's not what you think. Uraraka, what are you doing here anyway? Ida, it's 7:20 in the morning, we'll be late. Why is Midoriya in your room? You're my friends, but I can't overlook this, and you know it. Both guys turned red. Uraraka covered her face in embarrassment, causing her to float. Deku also hid his face but then heard their classmates approaching. With little time, he relaxed. Deku, Ida, it's not what you think. I know it sounds silly, but it's the truth. Last night, you all fell asleep, and Uraraka, Asui, and I cleaned everything up. In the end, we left you in your rooms, but when we got here, we fell asleep. It's my fault, I should have gone to my room. Maybe I would have fallen asleep in a hallway, and we wouldn't be going through this now. The girl listened to Deku, and his voice relaxed her. She deactivated her quirk and stood next to him. Ida was immobile. His sense of duty told him he had to report it, his duty as president. Still, he knew his friends were not lying, so he decided to believe them, giving them a smile that faded when he heard Kirishima and the girls' voices approaching. Ida, okay, I believe you, but we don't have time. The others will be here soon, and you know how they'll react. Midoriya, you won't make it out the door in time. What will you do? The guy thought, seconds running out. Deku started looking in all directions and saw the window. Without thinking, he opened it and jumped, surprising Ida and Uraraka, who were left with their mouths open. The brown-haired girl reacted, jumped into her bed, and covered herself with the blanket just as their friends entered. Kirishima, activating his quirk, what's going on here? Ida, relax, friends, nothing's happening. Todoroki, we heard a scream. Ida, that's more than nothing. Mina, what's up, Uraraka? Uraraka, no, Ida is right. It's nothing. He just came into my room suddenly, and it scared me. Mineta, I'd never think that of you, those actions. Ida, it's not what you think. I knocked on the door several times, but there was no response. I was worried about her, so I entered without thinking. Yaoyorozu, Ida, we stayed up late last night, it's normal that Ochako didn't respond. Everyone was talking. Deku heard everything from the window and balcony, relieved that nothing happened. He took a deep breath and quickly went to his room, changed into sneakers, and went out again through the window. Everyone was still in Uraraka's room, but a small yawn diverted their attention. Tsuyu slowly approached the brown-haired girl's room. Tsuyu, what's all this noise about? Ida, nothing, it's good that you woke up. Let's have breakfast, we're all running late. Tsuyu, speaking of which, does anyone know where Midoriya is? His room door is open, and he's not there. Everyone was surprised, Midoriya couldn't just disappear. Mina was about to ask Uraraka about the whereabouts of the green-haired guy, but at that moment. Deku, did someone call me? The guy joined his friends with wet hair and water dripping from his ears, wearing the school uniform. Everyone looked at him incredulously. Ida and Uraraka looked surprised, but Bakugo stepped forward. Bakugo, where the hell were you, damn nerd? Deku, I was training. I usually get up early and practice at times. Everyone looked unbelievingly at Midoriya. Last night, they had a party and stayed up too late, yet Deku had gone to train. Mina was about to ask something when Ida interrupted, raising his voice enough to be heard. Ida, well, friends, we've seen enough, it's time to go eat, or we'll get in trouble. Everyone, yes. They all walked to the dining hall. Uraraka, Ida, and Midoriya exchanged a complicit smile as their glasses-wearing friend moved ahead. Tsuyu, were you really training, Midoriya? Deku, of course, Tsuyu. I have to control my quirk well. Why do you ask? Tsuyu, we stayed up too late, and of all of us, you look the best. Deku, I woke up with a lot of energy. I can't lose my momentum. Deku was sweating inside. The green-haired girl was straightforward, a few more questions, and Tsuyu would know the truth. However, she didn't make any attempt to continue talking with the freckled guy. Tsuyu, well, hurry up for breakfast, Midoriya. You too, Ochako. The girl went ahead, and after a few seconds, the pair sighed in relief, followed by shared laughter. Uraraka, I don't like lying to our friends. Deku, neither do I, but this will be the only time. Uraraka, now you'll have to go out to train every morning. I'm sorry. Deku, that's not a lie. I do go out occasionally, Uraraka, although now it will be an everyday thing. But no matter, let's go at breakfast. Uraraka, yes. By the way, how did you sleep? Sorry if my bed isn't. Deku, I slept great, Uraraka. Blushing H, how did you sleep? If my presence wasn't pleasant, forgive me. Uraraka, it was nice. Blushing, I slept very well. Th, thanks. Both headed to the kitchen, neither spoke, but inside, they were happy. The previous night was something unique for both of them. Finally, everyone was having breakfast, although the atmosphere wasn't as lively as usual. Everyone looked at each other, waiting for someone to remind them of what they did last night, but it seemed no one knew. Deku, Tsuyu, and Uraraka knew, but out of respect for their friends, they remained silent. Finally, Hagakure's invisible clothes floated above everyone, indicating that the girl had gotten up. Hagakure, so I guess no one remembers what happened last night? Silence reigned. The question was answered without a direct response. The girl sat back down, but at that moment, Yaoyorozu gave a little shout and stood up, somewhat excited. Yaoyorozu, we may not remember, but perhaps the camera does. Everyone looked at each other with confused faces, so the black-haired girl continued speaking. Yaoyorozu, remember the camera installed at Ida's request so that in case of any incident, we'd have more impartial eyes. Now everyone looked nervous, they knew it was their only option, but it could also expose them if the camera captured their actions. At that moment, Ida stood up quickly, a bit nervous. Ida, the idea is good, Yaoyorozu, but the purpose of that camera is to use it when something significant happens, not just during a class party. Mina, don't you think this attitude is important? Checking your classmates' behavior in a relaxed setting will serve you as the class president. Hagakure, besides, it's your duty as president to monitor our behavior while on campus. A debate ensued. One group, including Mina, Hagakure, Kaminari, Jiro, Yaoyorozu, Kirishima, and Mineta, wanted to know what they had done, while the rest of the students preferred to let it be forgotten. Bakugo simply didn't participate, dismissing everything, as was his custom. However, he sat next to Kirishima, and they took it as support. Finally, Ida stood up, putting an end to the discussion. Ida, fine, I'm not in favor of this, but remember, if you don't like what you see, it's on your own account. Ida resumed eating, although annoyance was evident on his face. The guy didn't notice Deku touching his shoulder until he spoke in his ear, making him jump. Ida, what's up, Midoriya? Deku, sorry if I scared you, but I thought you wanted to check the time. The black-haired guy looked at his watch, which read 8:30, it was already too late. Ida stood up abruptly. Ida, listen, we'll deal with the camera later. It's 8:30, and we all need to be in the classroom now. Everyone froze, it was already too late. They brought their dishes to the kitchen, and they were about to go to their rooms to prepare their things for class. At that moment, the Class B president entered through the door. Everyone looked at her strangely, but they decided to hurry past Kendo, politely greeting her. Kendo, busy morning, Tenya? Ida, something like that, Itsuka. I'd prefer not to talk about it. Yaoyorozu, why the visit? Sorry, Itsuka, but we're busy. Kendo, it'll be quick. In fact, I'm glad the others aren't here. What I came to tell you is. The girl was interrupted, her phone started ringing. With an apologetic gesture, she excused herself to answer. The others assured her it was okay. Kendo answered but didn't take long, ending the call with a quick "I'll be right there." The girl stored her phone and headed to the door quickly. Kendo, excuse me, I have to take care of this as quickly as possible. It'll be fast. Yaoyorozu, go ahead, Itsuka, your class needs you. Kendo, I'll be back in a moment. The girl headed for the exit when Ida caught her attention. Ida, look for us in the classroom then. We're also leaving. Kendo, your classroom? Hey, wait. The girl couldn't continue the discussion because her phone rang again. She debated whether to go to her class or inform her classmates, but they left without stopping. She sighed in frustration and hurried to her dorm room. 9 o'clock was already too late, everyone was in the classroom, worried. The last to arrive were Ida and Yaoyorozu, who were preparing an apology. However, when they reached their friends, they realized the doors were closed. Both dark-haired students swallowed nervously. They were about to knock when they heard hurried footsteps approaching. Everyone turned to see a exhausted Kendo stopping to catch her breath. She finally walked over, her breathing was heavy, visibly tired. Deku took a water bottle from his backpack and handed it to her, to which she gave a thumbs up in gratitude. Ida, Itsuka, are you okay? Kendo, yeah, I think so. By the way, didn't you get the message? Yaoyorozu, what message? Kendo, from your teacher, Aizawa, right? Ida, yes, but what message are you talking about? Kendo, classes are cancelled for today, teachers' meeting. The principal ordered every teacher to message their students about the situation. Didn't they inform you? Both boys were about to respond when an explosion surprised everyone. Bakugo, so, you knew there were no classes, yet you rushed us, four-eyed idiot? The blonde launched himself at Ida but was stopped by Kirishima and Sero, who caught their friend. Deku, without showing it, activated One for All and pulled Sero's tapes, knocking down Bakugo, who was then grabbed by Kirishima. Kirishima, calm down, man. Let them talk. Both dark-haired students recovered from the shock and took out their phones. Indeed, there was the message from their teacher, so both discreetly deleted it. Itsuka, well? Yaoyorozu, nothing on mine. How about you, Ida? Ida, same. Itsuka looked at her classmates suspiciously, But before she could say anything, Jiro stepped forward. Jiro, well, we know how Professor Aizawa is. It shouldn't surprise us, maybe it slipped his mind. Anyway, thanks for the info, President. Yaoyorozu looked gratefully at her best friend, and the purple-haired girl responded with a complicit smile. Itsuka was not satisfied, but another call interrupted her thoughts. Kendo speaking. Okay, understood. Thanks, Tsunotori, I'm heading there as fast as I can. Well, guys, I have to run again, but you have the day off, so make the most of it. Yaoyorozu, thanks, Itsuka, see you tomorrow. The girl gave a friendly thumbs up and left. Everyone turned back to head to their rooms. Bakugo cursed under his breath but chatted with Kirishima. Suddenly, Itsuka appeared again, running towards Deku. Kendo, take your bottle, Midoriya. Thanks a lot. See you later. Deku, yes, President. See you later. The boy blushed as he said goodbye to the girl, making the orange-haired girl laugh, somewhat touched. Finally, she turned around and headed back to the exit. Deku remained in that small daze for a few minutes until Uraraka touched his shoulder, getting his attention. Uraraka, a bit jealous, Deku, since when have you been talking to the Class B president? Deku, I don't know. I ran into her last night when I was leaving Suyu in her room. I accidentally hurt her hand. Uraraka, what happened, Deku? Deku, we both made a mistake. She thought I was an enemy and threw a punch, and I. Uraraka, you thought the same and reacted. Deku, yeah. It would have been better if I had dodged and restrained her, so I wouldn't have hurt her. Uraraka, but you didn't know it was her, Deku. Deku, Suyu was on my back. I couldn't let any harm come to her. Her safety was my responsibility, and I had to act quickly. Suyu was standing next to the group of Mina, Hagakure, and Jiro, but she overheard everything. She couldn't help but blush a little, though it quickly faded. On Uraraka's side, the girl was surprised by her friend's words and unintentionally asked a question. Uraraka, if I had been in Suyu's place, would you have done the same? The girl blushed immediately, hoping that the green-haired boy hadn't hurt her. But Deku stopped, turning to look directly at Uraraka. Deku, without hesitation. I wouldn't let anyone harm you. Uraraka's eyes widened in surprise. Her friend's response made her heart beat faster. When Deku realized his answer, he turned red and covered his face with his hands. If Deku remembered correctly, it was around the middle of their second year that he fell in love with his brunette friend, or at least realized his feelings for her. Deku was about to apologize to Uraraka when he saw the big smile she directed at him. That smile, that beautiful smile, caused the green-haired boy to fall for his companion. Uraraka was sweet, cute, and Deku had admitted that since he met her. But being together for so long, overcoming obstacles together, and everything they had been through made that feeling grow inside him. However, it was that smile, that beautiful smile, so bright, warm, and honest, that made the boy fall in love irreversibly. It took a few minutes for the boy to react. Uraraka, thank you. The boy turned red again. There were times when both their nerves and shyness made it difficult for them to communicate, but there were also those other moments when their gazes met, no embarrassment or nervousness, just both of them looking at each other, talking as if they were the only ones there. Deku also smiled at his friend, and they continued walking towards their dormitories. Their day off had just begun. Everyone was gathered in the recreation room, all attentive as Ida connected the camera to the TV and checked the files. Finally, he played the video. They didn't show it, but they were sweating. After all, it could have been a bad idea. Ida glanced at his friends before hitting play. Ida, are we sure about this point? There's no turning back. Bakugo, just play it, damn 4 eyes. I want to get out of here. Jiro, you want to see what you did too, Bakugo, right? Bakugo, what the hell are you talking about? I don't care about what they did. Jiro, then why are you still here? The blonde stared defiantly at the purple-haired girl but said nothing. Ida, okay, here we go. The video started playing normally. The guys remembered those scenes, so they told Ida to skip ahead, to which he responded with an annoyed snort, agreeing. Deku remembered everything that happened, so he stood up and headed towards the kitchen. Bakugo, where the hell are you going, nerd? Deku, I was planning to make some tea, Kachan. Anyone interested? I can make more. Aoyama, yes, Midoriya, please. Do you want help? Deku, no, Aoyama, thanks a lot, but I'll bring the tea. Anyone else? Uraraka, please, Deku, I'm a bit thirsty. Yaoyorozu, Midoriya, I'll take some too if it's not a problem. Deku, not at all. Anyone else? None of those present said anything more, everyone was focused on the video. Ignored, the boy went into the kitchen. Ida stopped when he heard Mina singing, her voice was irregular, and she often changed the song's lyrics. He knew things weren't going well at that point. The horned girl turned lilac with embarrassment as she saw herself dancing to a rock song with Kirishima. The two realized, along with the entire class, that this hadn't been a good idea. The boy returned with 2 cups. He gave the first one to Uraraka, who thanked him with a smile. He passed by Momo, but she didn't notice him, too focused on watching the video. She wanted to make sure she hadn't done anything to tarnish her reputation as the good girl of the group. Soon, she was pulled out of her concentration by a delicious vanilla aroma. She found that the source of such a relaxing scent was a cup. The girl raised the object. The cup had a cute design. She looked more closely and noticed that the designs were elusive to All Might. It was inevitable that she let out a slight laugh. If it weren't for that detail, she could have sworn the cup was like the one she had in her room. The girl drank the tea, it was delicious. She didn't know where he bought it, but she had to ask him someday. Deku, Yaoyorozu, do you want some more? Yaoyorozu, please, Midoriya, and you have to tell me where you bought it, hee. The boy just smiled, taking the cup. Yaoyorozu again immersed herself in her thoughts. Now that she looked at him closely, she had never exchanged words with the green-haired guy the way she did with Jiro or anyone else in her class. Yaoyorozu didn't hate Deku, in a way, she could even say she admired and respected him. His performance on the battlefield, his analytical ability, and decision-making were impressive. Still, the girl couldn't bring herself to speak or even call the green-haired boy a friend. Finally, the boy returned with his cup, pulling her out of her thoughts. The girl took the cup gratefully, and the boy just smiled, returning to his place next to Uraraka. Yaoyorozu watched the green-haired guy walk away with a smile. That smile, his way of being, seemed adorable to her, but a loud thud snapped her out of her thoughts, redirecting her attention to the screen. There, she could see how Mineta ended up with the reliable bar the black-haired girl had created, sticking it to his head and causing him to lose consciousness. Everyone laughed, even Jiro nudged Yaoyorozu lightly. The girl just gave her a smile and returned her gaze to the screen. After a few minutes, Deku stood up and headed for the exit. Ida, where are you going, Midoriya? Deku, it's a day off, right? I'm going to see my mom, it's been a while since I've been home. Bakugo, wait, damn nerd. You want to go alone because you don't want to see your ridiculous performance from last night. Deku, no, and I didn't feel bad, Kachan. That's why I remember everything you all did. Ida, okay, Midoriya, but you have to be here early. We have classes tomorrow. Deku, yes, Ida, I'll see you in a bit. Uraraka, I'm leaving too, Ida. I need to go to the mall to buy some things I need. Ida gave them both a look, but the surprise on Deku's face made him reconsider, and he nodded, so they both left. Uraraka, so, are you going to see your mom, Deku? Deku, yes, I haven't been home since Shigaraki's capture. Partly because I didn't want to risk her, but I think it's time. Uraraka, yeah, you're right. My parents are constantly away, so I hardly see them, but when they come, I get permission from Professor Aizawa to spend time with them. Deku, why are you going to the mall, Uraraka? Uraraka, I ran out of some things in my room, and I want to check the prices of others. Deku, I see. Do you want me to come with you? Uraraka, what? T, thank you, Deku, B, but I think your mom needs you more. A part of Uraraka wanted to scream yes, hug the green-haired guy, and walk him through the aisles, enjoying his company. But the rational part of the girl was more significant. Deku hadn't talked to his mother in a while, and it was understandable. She could see him every day, his mother couldn't. The girl breathed a sigh of relief. Deku, are you sure? I can help you and run home, it wouldn't take much. Uraraka, yes, completely sure. Maybe another day, we could go out, and... A date? Uraraka Ochako inviting her classmate on a date? The girl quickly turned red, thinking of an excuse, but she realized that Deku was on the phone, so he didn't hear the last part. The girl sighed in relief. Deku, yes, Mom, I'm on my way. Sorry if I didn't let you know, it was sudden. If it's not a problem, I have my keys. Okay, I love you too. The boy put away his phone and looked at his companion, who was still blushing. Deku, sorry, Uraraka. What were you saying? Uraraka, nothing, Deku, Everything is fine. I was saying that maybe another day, we could go out with the whole class, like before the camp. The boy remembered that occasion when everyone left them alone, also, how Shigaraki cornered him. So many things for just one day. Finally, they reached the exit. They could hear car horns. The kids looked at each other. Deku, you're right, Uraraka, that would be a good idea. Well, I think we part ways here, right? Uraraka, to be honest, I'm going to the big mall, Deku. The train takes us in the same direction. Deku, true. Well, what do you want to talk about? The two walked towards the station. It wasn't long before they finally reached their destination. Uraraka got off first, and Deku was about to arrive when he received a message from his mother. Izuku, I'll pick you up at the station, my dear son. Deku could only smile. He was already close when a loud explosion echoed through the entire train, causing it to stop. Deku stood up immediately. A child clung to his mother's arm, who hugged him and looked around frightened. The green-haired guy looked out the window and saw two individuals cornered by the police. Unknown person, heroes and villains are no different. We do our deeds for satisfaction, the thrill of having the power to do it, and no one can stop us. Heroes have rules, they're regulations that innocent people establish, their silly sense of justice and morality limits them. But you know, we both kill people. Heroes hide it with the cute phrase, collateral damage. In reality, it means they didn't save the ones they swore to protect. They died hoping a negligent hero would come to save them. At least, we have the courage to say that we kill without caring about what people will say. Deku looked around. Usually, a hero would have arrived by now, but the streets seemed empty. If this continued, the villain's words would begin to resonate with the people. Unknown person, you're a UA student, right? The mother approached Deku terrified, taking him by the shoulders. Deku, why yes, I am, but using my quirk in a public place is against the law. Unknown person, please, I beg you, help us. Deku couldn't ignore the desperate plea from the woman. But then, he felt the train starting to move. The structure began to deform like a can about to be crushed. The green-haired guy looked out the window and found the culprit, who was floating with what seemed like a small rocket backpack. His fist clenched tighter, and the train car was crushed. Deku could hear the metal walls of the car creaking. The boy knew he couldn't just stand there. He moved the mother to a safe distance from both him and the car. With 50%, he delivered a powerful blow to a window, sending glass and some metal parts toward the enemy, who covered himself, stopping the attack. Deku could have jumped and gotten to safety, but the woman and child would hinder his freedom. The villain raised his hand again, but before he could do anything, he received a powerful kick. The green-haired guy looked, and the great hero Hawks was on the battlefield. Deku knew that if Hawks was here, then Endeavor didn't take long to make an appearance, starting a fight that didn't last long for the villains, who were defeated. Soon after, everyone was evacuated from the car. Deku sat being checked by doctors along with his mother. In the distance, he saw the press interviewing Endeavor. Reporter 1, what can you tell us about today's incident? Endeavor, people who don't know what to do with their quirks, misguided, turn into villains because of the opportunities they see. Reporter 2, what came out of the train? Hawks, an explosive device resulting from the villain's attack. Deku heard what the hero said and looked up. The winged hero gave him a complicit smile, something that Endeavor noticed. After finishing the interview, he headed towards Deku. Endeavor, I suppose you were on the train, right? Deku, yes, sir. The boy expected a scolding from the current #1 hero, but he just sighed tiredly. Endeavor, well, you certainly have explosive power. Thanks, kid. The man walked away with the same expression as always. Inko and Deku looked at him strangely. Back at the Midoriya home, Deku told his mother everything that had happened at school while she prepared his meal. Finally, Inko brought his plate to Deku, so he thanked her and prepared to eat when he felt a hit on his head from his mother. The blow didn't hurt, but it was strange, so the boy went to see his mother in the kitchen, finding her crying, which worried the green-haired guy. Deku, Mom. What's wrong? Inko, Izuku. Ever since you were born, I knew you would be someone very strong. Then, we found out that you didn't have a quirk, and I felt like my life was falling apart, that I had failed you. The guilt I felt was horrible, and seeing you in the state you were in was torture for me. But suddenly, your quirk manifested, you entered UA, and I was so happy for you. But with every accident that happened, your arms, your wounds, I wish that it would have been better if you didn't have a quirk. Deku was shocked by this, but his mom kept talking. Inko, my maternal instinct scolded me, I couldn't think that way. You had a great quirk, and you would become a great hero. Then came the fight with All Might, and you saw my reaction, but I kept supporting you. My doubts about letting you continue at UA faded away with every heroic act you faced. What you did for little Eri was, in my eyes, the greatest act of heroism. Son, forgive me for all the bad thoughts I had. Deku, Mom. You never have to ask for forgiveness from me. Forgive me instead for always worrying you. Inko, Izuku. After seeing you grow so much in school, watching how you handled things, I can only say that. I'm proud of you, my son. I'm sure you, my little Izuku, can become the greatest hero of all. Deku's face lit up, and his mother saw him smiling with warmth, causing Deku to shed a few tears that he wiped away with his hand. Inko took him by the hand and led him to the living room. Next to a poster of All Might on the wall was an enlarged newspaper clipping. Izuku was surprised, he hadn't seen that newspaper, but he thought about asking for that photo for his room at the academy. The headline of the newspaper just made him blush even more. Heroes on the way, UA students stop villains. The hero with a provisional license named Deku fights and wins against ex-members of the Villain League. Deku was attentively looking at the clipping when he felt tugs on his clothes. When he turned, he saw a child version of himself in pajamas with an All Might pattern, looking at him with excitement. Little Izuku, is that me? Deku, yes, the greatest of all heroes. Deku crouched down to the level of his younger self and ruffled his hair. Deku, no matter what they say, we will be the best heroes, okay? Little Izuku, with tears, yes. Inko, what's going on, son? Are you okay? Deku, getting up, nothing, just checking something. Hee hee. Inko, well, come and eat. I didn't make katsudon just for it to get cold, son. You have to tell me everything that happened. What about that girl Uraraka? Deku, you, Uraraka? What does she have to do with anything? Inko, smiling, a mother notices everything, Izuku. Inko pointed to another newspaper cover with Deku and Uraraka, with All Might walking behind them. Deku blushed excessively, and his mother let out small laughs that relaxed the green-haired guy. He ate and told his mother all about his adventures. In the evening, the boy bid farewell to his mother to return to the academy. Inko, Izuku. Deku, what's up, Mom? Inko, when will you bring that Uraraka girl home? Deku, what? You, Uraraka? Inko, ha ha ha, no rush, but let me know when it's time to make arrangements, hee hee hee. The boy blushed, covering his face with his hands. Inko, from now on, I'll call you every time you go on a mission, okay? I want to know how you're doing, Izuku. Deku, I'll call you or send you a message every day, Mom, not just on missions. Inko, thank you, son. Now go before it gets darker. Deku, yes, see you later, Mom. Inko, Izuku. Deku, hee hee hee, what's up, Mom? Inko, I'm proud of you, my son. Deku just smiled, raised his hand, and headed towards the train. The excitement of today made him very happy, and before he knew it, he was jumping from rooftop to rooftop with One for All, doing flips and leaving a trail of small green sparks behind. He couldn't and didn't want to hide his happiness.